everyone, so for a perfect competition example, we decided to go with Pasar Tani. Honestly, if you ever been to one, you will see why it fits perfectly. It's basically the closest real-world example we have in Malaysia. So, why does Pasar Tani fit? Well, for starter, there are tons of sellers, over 8,500 across Malaysia, so no single person can just hike the price up. Next, the stuff they sell is basically the same. Tomatoes from stall A same as stall B, and getting in is super easy. Just grab a permit and rent a table. Plus, prices are all out there in the open. You can literally just walk around and spot the cheapest deal in seconds. Alright, so what if someone actually tries to break the rules and charge more? Let's say chicken is 10 ringgit everywhere, right? But store A wakes up and decided to sell at 12 ringgit. What happened? Customer just take 2 steps to the left and buy from stall B for 10 ringgit. Boom, zero sale, zero customer. So yes, in this market, sellers are total price taker. You can just decide to charge extra or you will lose your business immediately. Now, let's switch gear and talk about short run versus long run. This picture is the rainy season, floods hit and supply drop. Prices shoot up to 10 ringgit. Suddenly, our vendor is making a nice extra profit. That's the green area on the graph, but because it's so easy for others to join, everyone else sees that money and jumps in. More seller means more supply, and that push the price right back down. Eventually, in the long run, the price falls to 6 ringgit, which is basically break even. So you can make a quick buck in the short run, but over time, competition just eats up at all those extra profit. Okay, so who actually benefit the most here? Let's do a quick example. You are buying chicken, you will be okay paying 10 ringgit. But because of all the competition, the price is only 8 ringgit. You just save 2 ringgit. That is your consumer surplus, and it's pretty big. On the flip side, the seller would have accepted 5 ringgit, but they got 8 ringgit. They only made 3 ringgit extra. That's their surplus, and it's tiny. So, buyers get a fantastic deal. Seller, they just scrape by. Compare that to a monopoly like TNB, since they have no rival, they can charge whatever they want and keep all the surplus. So, Pasar Tani is amazing for a shopper, but honestly, tak luck for the vendor. Alright, that's wrap up for our analysis of Pasar Tani. It really ticked all the boxes for perfect competition. Lots of seller, identical product, easy entry and clear prices. Consumer win big, but seller live on a razor thin margin. That's it for part 1.
I will be talking about monopolistic competition using Zeus Coffee as an example. Monopolistic competition is a market structure where many firms sell similar products but differentiate themselves through branding, quality, advertising, and customer experience. Zeus Coffee operates in a highly competitive coffee market in Malaysia and uses various strategies to stand out from its competitors. In this presentation, I will discuss how product differentiation, advertising, and brand loyalty help Zeus Coffee compete, as well as its short-run and long-run market performance. First, Zeus Coffee competes through product differentiation. Although many coffee chains sell similar products, Zeus Coffee makes itself different through its affordable premium coffee, modern branding, mobile ordering application, and unique beverage selection. For example, customers can order through the Zeus app and collect rewards, which creates a more convenient experience. Zeus also introduced signature drinks and seasonal beverage to attract consumers. Because of this difference, customers may choose Zeus Coffee instead of other coffee brands, even when the products are similar. In the short run, Zeus Coffee can earn economic profits when demand for its product is high. This happens when the selling price is higher than the average cost of production. However, these profits attract new competitors into the market. As more coffee brands enter, customers have more choice, causing Zeus Coffee's demand to decrease. In the long run, Zeus Coffee earns only normal profit, where total revenue equals to total cost. The firm also operates with excess capacity, meaning it does not produce at the most efficient level. Advertising and brand loyalty are very important in monopolistic competition. Zeus Coffee uses social media platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook to promote its products. The company also offers discounts and loyalty rewards through its mobile application. These strategies encourage customers to return and make repeat purchases. As a result, loyal customers are less likely to switch to competing coffee brands. So finally, monopolistic competition is less efficient than perfect competition. This is because firms spend money on advertising and branding, which increase costs. Firms operate with excess capacity and do not produce at the lowest possible cost. As a result, consumers usually pay higher prices and receive less output compared to a perfectly competitive market. In conclusion, Zeus Coffee is a good example of monopolistic competition because it uses product differentiation, advertising, and brand loyalty to compete in Malaysia's coffee market. It can earn profits in the short run, but in the long run, it earns only normal profit and operates with excess capacity.
So, hi madam, my name is Nurin Nazifa. Today I will be present the monopoly market structure in Malaysia by using Indah Water Consumption, or in a short form we call IWK, as my selected company. So, Indah Water Consumption basically responsible for providing sewerage and wastewater treatment service in most part of Peninsular Malaysia. In this presentation, I will explain how Indah Water meets the characteristic of a monopoly, the effect of a government regulation, the role of economies of scale, and the price discrimination practiced by the company. So firstly, Indah Waters meets all the characteristics of a monopoly market structure. Indah Water is the sole provider of sewerage service in most area of Peninsular Malaysia. There are also no close competitor in this sector. So beside that, the industry require huge capital investment and advanced technology, creating high barriers to entry for new firms. Moreover, Indah Water operates under government regulation to ensure public health and environmental sustainability. Therefore, Indah Water can be considered a monopoly in Malaysia's sewerage service sector. So, for the next slide, government regulation provides several benefits to consumer. Firstly, they help maintain affordable and stable price. Secondly, they protect consumer from excessive charge and ensure equal access to essential service. However, there are also some disadvantages. For example, Indah Water has limited flexibility in adjusting price because any tariff change require government approval. In addition, strict regulation may reduce profit and slow down the innovation. Overall, government regulation help protect consumer while maintaining service quality. So for this slide, Indah Water benefits from economy of scale because it serves millions of customers across Peninsular Malaysia. The company has extensive infrastructure, treatment plants and maintenance facility. As the scale of operation increases, the average cost per customer become lower. For new firm entering this industry, would require huge capital investment and advanced technology. Therefore, economies of scale create significant barriers to entry and make it difficult for potential competitors to enter the market. So, one example of price discrimination practiced by Indah Water is charging different rates to residential and commercial customers. So, residential customers are charged lower rates to ensure that sewerage service remains affordable, while commercial customers pay a higher charge because they use more service and produce more wastewater. This pricing strategy allows Indah Water to maintain service quality while ensuring fairness among different consumer groups. So, in conclusion, Indah Water Consumption is a suitable example of a monopoly market structure in Malaysia. The company possesses all the characteristics of a monopoly, operates under government regulation, benefits from economies of scale, and practice price discrimination. Therefore, Indah Waters play an important role in providing efficient and sustainable sewerage service to the public. So, that's all from me. Thank you.
I'll be talking about oligopoly in Malaysia, and I've chosen Celcom DG Berhad as my case study in the telecommunication sector. So what is an oligopoly? So it's a market structure where a small number of large firms dominate the industry, and Malaysia's telecom market is a perfect example. Here's why. First, the market is controlled by three major players: CelcomDigi, Maxis, and Umobile. Together, they hold about 92% of the entire mobile market. After the merger in 2022, CelcomDigi alone now commands about 40% market share, making it the largest, and Maxis follows with about 32%, and Umobile has around 20%. Now I'm going to be talking about why this is a classic oligopoly. So firstly, the market is controlled by just three major players. Second, these firms are highly interdependent. That means if one company changes its prices or launches a new promo, the others have to react almost immediately. You can't just sit back and do nothing because you'll lose customers. So there's this constant watching and responding game going on. Third, barriers to entry are extremely high. Building a nationwide telecom network costs billions of ringgit. We're talking about towers, fiber optics, base stations, and spectrum licenses. Plus, the government agency MCMC strictly controls who gets those licenses. So it's nearly impossible for a new player to just walk in and compete. And fourth and lastly, competition here isn't just about the price, it's about network coverage, 5G speed, customer loyalty programs, and device bundles. So while they do compete on pricing sometimes, the real battle is often about who gives you better coverage and more perks. Now let's apply some game theory to understand their pricing behavior. So imagine a simple scenario where CelcomDigi and its biggest rival Maxis each have two choices: either maintain their current prices or cut them by 5%. So if both companies maintain prices, both earn high profits. That's the ideal situation. It's like a silent agreement to keep everything stable. But if CelcomDigi maintains while Maxis cut prices, Maxis will steal a lot of customers and earn high profits, while CelcomDigi's profit drops to medium. On the flip side, if CelcomDigi cuts and Maxis maintains, then CelcomDigi gets the high profit. And finally, if both cut prices, we get a full-on price war, and both end up with low profits. So what's the Nash equilibrium here? It's actually both cutting prices, because each firm worries that if they don't cut, the other one will take all their customers. That's why you occasionally see these price battles in the market. But in reality, both sides also know that a price war will hurt everyone, so they usually just try to avoid it and compete on other things like network quality instead. Now let's talk about the government policies, because they play a huge role in shaping this oligopoly. So the main regulator is MCMC, which operates under the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. They have the power to stop any practice that significantly reduces competition. One of the biggest policy moves recently is the 5G network strategy. Malaysia originally went with a single wholesale network called DNB, but then shifted to a dual network model. And here's the key: the government chose Umobile to build the second 5G network. Once Umobile's network reaches full scale, which is expected around 2028, they could have lower operating costs and start offering cheaper plans. That would directly challenge CelcomDigi and Maxis, shaking up the current balance. There's also a proposal to limit SIM card registrations. Each citizen would only be able to register up to 2 SIM cards per operator. This prevents any single company from inflating its numbers artificially and keeps things fair. And of course, spectrum allocation is highly controlled by the government. This gives the existing big players a lasting advantage because new entrants simply can't get frequencies they need to operate. Finally, let's imagine a scenario. What if Maxis suddenly cuts its prices by 20%? That's a huge drop. How would CelcomDigi respond? First, in the short term, CelcomDigi wouldn't just blindly copy that 20% cut across the board. That would destroy their profit margins. Instead, they'd likely offer targeted discounts on the specific plans that Maxis' premium customers use most, just to protect their high-value users from jumping ship. Second, in the medium term, CelcomDigi will ramp up their branding and differentiation. They run ads and campaigns emphasizing their superior network coverage, faster 5G, and better overall reliability. The message would be, yes, we might cost a little more, but you get what you pay for, better connectivity and service. Third, they could offer value-added bundles like extra data, free device installments, or exclusive 5G access, without actually dropping the base monthly price. That's a clever way to give customers more value without starting a full-blown price war. And fourth, in the long term, CelcomDigi will lean on the cost efficiencies from their merger with DG. They can share infrastructure, reduce redundancies, and lower their operating costs. They've also signed infrastructure sharing agreements with other players so they can cut costs further. That gives them room to be more competitive without slashing profits too much. So ultimately, if a price war breaks out, CelcomDigi would fight back selectively, but both companies would know that a prolonged war is bad for everyone. So over time, they're likely to settle back into a more stable, non-price based competition. So to wrap it all up, CelcomDigi is a textbook example of an oligopoly in Malaysia. Few dominant firms, high interdependence, huge barriers to entry, and strong non-price competition. We saw how game theory explains their pricing dilemmas, how government policies like the 5G dual network plan and MCMC regulations keep shaking things up, and how CelcomDigi would smartly respond to a major price cut without destroying its own profitability. And that's all from me. Thank you so much.